from each other, all right? That's why I'm a learner, I'm a student, I'm a teacher, I'm a researcher, and I'm a radiographer, and I'm a mental health first aider. All right. So yeah. If you don't understand anything, feel free to tuck in your questions in the discussion forum. Good questions if you have, okay? I try to share my presentation. To not go off. It's here. All right. No, yeah. Oh, today's network is just too abysmal and so poor. Hello, can someone hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I can see Irene's
Yes, I can
thumbs
hear
up.
you.
Okay, because I just wanted to know whether we can hear each other before I'll finish presenting it. I'll only realize that I'm the one talking to myself. Starts.
We can hear you.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right. So as I said, we're going to just have some interactive session. All right. Research is it's interesting, and then it's a skill that we develop across the years from regular. We'll look at some of the basic things we need to do if we want to really do a very good research. Astute researchers, I am still learning, right? So I will ask questions so that you can also teach me. As it was said, my name is Jacob Leonard. I prefer that you call me Leo, all right? And I'm a learner, I'm still learning. I'm a teacher, I'm a researcher, I'm a radiographer, and I'm a mental health first aider, right? So that's basic thing about me. Now, before we begin, I need to pay my respects to the elders, past, present, and emerging of Australia. And then I wish that I will respectfully contribute to learning, education, and the well-being of the people in and across Australia. Okay. All right. So at the end of today's section, I believe that we will be able to know the structure of a scientific paper using the MRAD format. Okay. So we know what MRAD is. We all know it already, but we'll go through that again. And we should also be able to write clear abstracts and background sections. Okay, we should be able to define precise objectives and reproducible methods. Why do I say reproducible methods? We'll come to that and we'll know why the method should be able to help people to produce similar studies. Okay, and then we should be able to present our results, do some discussion, write conclusion, and we'll look at some of the basic things we need to avoid, okay, in the research process. So the overarching objective is to equip all of us, okay, with practical skills that will transform our research skill and then make us good in our initial approach to research, okay? Now, before we begin, we'll do a little Mentimeter activity. I was saying that they cannot load my Mentimeter. Okay, we'll do a little Mentimeter activity. So my slide is loading. You have to take your phone and then we'll go online and do some little activity. I hope this network doesn't disrupt me. Oh, am I just talking to myself? Oh my God.
No. We can hear you. We can
We
hear
can
you.
hear
Okay.
you.
Ah, I thought all this while I was just talking to myself. Okay, anyway. All right,
It's
so
clear.
let me see. Why is the Mentimeter not loading? Load it. Ah, what is wrong with you? Still loading. Okay. What was the first question in the Mentimeter? Let me even check. I've forgotten what I put in there. Oh my gosh. If the issue persists, reach to us at help@mentimeter.com. Wow. What's wrong? Why can't you show? Oh, oh, my Mentimeter is not working, but I will just get the questions and then I'll ask you. Maybe you can chuck the answers in the chat box. That's fine. First question was, what comes to mind when you hear of research? What do you understand by research? That was my first question that I was asking in the Mentimeter. So you can just chuck in your responses in the chat box and then we see what people think about research. I'll give some few minutes for the responses.
Okay, so Mr. Leo.
Call me Leo. Don't call me Mr. Leo.
Yeah, Leo.
Yeah.
This faculty.
Okay.
Yeah. So when we talk about research, it's it's more like using scientific method, okay, to
Mm-hmm.
bring or um bring new findings into existence, which answers to specific questions, specific scientific questions.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Any other thoughts from someone else? Okay. So I believe that at the end of the discussion, we will share the slides so everyone will get to know the questions that I asked. And the next question I was going to ask was, what stage are you currently at in research? Are you a basic researcher? Are you now beginning? Are you trying to find ways of starting research? What is your challenge? Yeah, so that was my next question. Okay, so I'll go to the next slide. I think it's still Mentimeter. We will not do all the Mentimeters because my network is bad today. All right, so now let's talk about the publication pipeline. Okay, now before you can go into a publication, we'll come to the various sections in the manuscript writing. Okay, but if we are talking about publication pipeline, then we're looking at number one, how you can even develop a research question, because it's the research question that is going to guide your entire process. The research question is going to help you determine what research method to use, okay? Whether you're going to use a quantitative, a qualitative, or whether it's going to even computational studies, or if it's going to be a literature review sort of study, okay? So now once you get your research question, then you can, based on the research question, you'll be able to determine which study design will be appropriate, okay? So the study design is actually going to look at the various principles guiding a particular method, okay? So if it is quantitative, if it is qualitative, what are the principles? So we call some things axiology, we call some things the theoretical framework that is going to guide our study. Okay, so the research paradigm, which we are not going to look at that because we're just talking about how we can produce the output. So once you have your research question, that is going to guide you in choosing the appropriate study design. Okay, you should always ensure that there is a clear association between the research question and then the chosen study design, which we will look at. Now, once you've chosen the study design, if it is quantitative or qualitative, then you have to follow on that and choose an appropriate data collection method. Okay, so you cannot tell me that you are doing a qualitative study and then you are doing a survey as a data collection method. Okay, because qualitative study will always follow with what? Either a focus group discussion or an interview sort of study or observation. Okay, so the research question influenced or informed the study design, whether quantitative or qualitative, and that also informed our data collection methodologies or methods. Okay, now once we are clear about the type of data we are collecting, and that is going to inform our analysis. So if we did a survey, which is quantitative, then based on the research question, we are either going to analyze it descriptively or inferentially, all right? And that depends on the research question. So if your research question is looking at differences between different groups of people, then we cannot just do descriptive statistics. We have to do inferential analysis, all right? And if you are doing a focus group discussion, then depending on the methodology you are using, whether you're going to do a thematic analysis, you're going to do a content analysis, or you're going to do different forms of qualitative research analysis. Okay. Now, once you have analyzed and then you have written down your manuscript, then you have to look for an appropriate journal to submit to. And you have to be very careful of predatory journals. Okay. So the predatory journals are those that will just charge you money and then they will not do any proper peer review. Okay. They're just interested in the money. And once you make payments, the work will be published. That is not a proper journal. And so you have to be careful about it. And lastly, if it is a good journal, you have to wait for months for peer review. And you have to be expectant that the peer review is going to be either positive or negative. The work may be rejected or it may be accepted. Now, rejection is part of it. Okay, so we all receive rejections. I will show you my journals of sites if the internet permits, and then you see the number of rejections we get. Okay, professors do receive rejections. My mentors do receive rejections. I receive rejections a lot of time. Okay, so you just have to be aware of some of these challenges. Okay, now writing is not the final step. Okay, it's not just about the writing. What goes on in the writing process, your understanding of the concept, your articulation of what the result means is what actually matters. Someone from a different discipline should pick your paper and be able to understand what you have done. Okay, and that requires constant practice. So you don't just write it and submit. You have to undergo a lot of reviews from even your colleagues, from your seniors, and even from juniors. Some people who are not even within your discipline should be able to read and understand what you are writing. All right. So yeah, those are some basic things about the publication. Now, in the research paper, we always follow the MRAD process. Okay. Now, MRAD is introduction for I, M for methodology or the methods, R for resource. So it is RA, right? And then the D is for the discussion. Now, each part of the manuscript has specific roles that they play, each part. So you cannot do in the discussion what is supposed to be done in the introduction. In the same time, you cannot do in the resource what is supposed to be done in the discussion. Okay, each of them has its own purpose, which you need to follow systematically if you really want to get your paper out there. All right. Now, the abstract is what we usually see first. It provides the layman summary of all that you did. It is what we see first, but it is what we write last. Okay? You write the abstract last because by the time you write your conclusion, then you understand everything and you can clearly summarize it into the abstract. The abstract also has its own format, but that may be journal specific. Okay, we can either have the structured abstract or unstructured abstract. And in radiography, most of our journals go with the structured abstract, which we'll look at very soon. Okay, is there any question for me up to this point before I will lose you guys and my internet will become so poor? Any question for me?
There's no question in the chat box. There's no question.
Okay. If there is no question, then I will continue. All right. So with the introduction, it helps us to know the importance of the research. Okay. It helps us to know whether there is any problem that you have identified and you want us to solve it, or you want to solve it. The introduction will talk about the background information, what has been done elsewhere, and what has not been done, and how you want to address that. Also, why you want to address it. Okay, so that is the introduction. All right. It gives the background of it. It gives literature to support what has been done elsewhere, what has not been done, and implications of that. Like once it has not been done, what do you think is the real problem? Okay. Now from there, from the introduction, you get a gap, which will lead you to your study aim. Okay. You get a clear gap, it will lead you to your study aim. And then sometimes the research questions, depending on the journal you are submitting to. All right. Now, the research question is important because that is what's going to actually guide you in selecting your methods. All right. So once you are done with the introduction, the next section you have to write is the methods. And here, you have to let us know how you conducted your study. You get what I mean? You have to let us know how you conducted your study. Was it by observation? Was it by a survey? How did you sample your participants? Did you receive any ethics approval? By what ethics approach did you use? Which guidelines did you follow? Is it the Declaration of Helsinki? Is it the guideline that is provided by your institution? Okay, how did you ensure participant confidentiality? You have to let us know all that. Okay, now that method should be reproducible. When we say it should be reproducible, like when I pick your paper, I should be able to follow the same process and get similar results in my settings. Okay, so assuming we did one study in Australia on, let's say, burnout among radiographers, and someone is in Ghana or Nigeria, if they follow the same procedure that I outlined in my method paper, then they should be able to get similar findings or different findings, and you have to interpret that in the discussion, maybe based on the different geographic location. Okay, but once someone follows the same method, they should be able to get results. Okay, and then the result is what you found. That is what you actually talk about. You don't interpret it. You don't tell us what that means. Result is not the place for interpretation. It's a place for you to convey what you actually found. If you found 24 people, talk about 24 people. When you get to the discussion, you tell us what that 24 means and how that is going to influence or affect practice. Okay, so the discussion talks about why the result matters. All right, good. Now let's see each section. Oh, I had one Mentimeter activity here. I was asking which part of the MRAD do we do the interpretation? And that is the discussion, all right? When we get a slide, you should be able to see that. Not allowing me for today, so unfortunately, it's not going to be so much of interactive as I thought. All right, so let's talk about the abstract of a manuscript. Now, that is the miniature of your manuscript. When we say miniature, it actually contains every other thing, okay? It contains the background, the aims or objective, which is usually included in the background. And then it has the methods, the results, conclusion. And in most radiography journals, it has the implication for practice. Okay, not just radiography, for most health professions journals. It has that implication for practice. What does your finding or your study actually add to practice? Okay, so you have to bear that in mind. So we've talked about actually what all of them do, the background, the aim, objective, method, results, and then conclusion. Okay, now one thing we should know in the abstract is that we don't provide references here. You just have to be as concise as possible. No references in this section, all right? Unless you are submitting an abstract for maybe a conference presentation where it's undergoing peer review. So you need to reference some of the claims that you make, all right? But if it is for a journal publication, we don't need to reference in the abstract. Okay. And you also have to avoid vague statements. Statements that are not clear, that do not add anything to the abstract. You just have to say what you found as brief as possible and more concise. All right. And then when we come to the introduction, this is where we are always told that you move from broad to narrow. And the opposite is true for the discussion. You move from narrow to broad. Is there any question in there?
Yes, please.
Okay. What's the question?
Okay. So please, with the abstract you just mentioned, okay, the previous slide, you were saying something that with the abstract you have the structured and then the unstructured, right?
Yeah.
So is the one you showed, is it a structured format or?
So this is okay. So this is a structured abstract. The structured abstract is the one that has aim, which is usually incorporated in the background, and then you have the methods, you have the results, conclusion, and then sometimes implications for practice. Okay, now the unstructured abstract, you write everything together. You don't section them. Okay, so you start with maybe the background, and then you will talk about the method, but you will not specifically say that this is the method. Okay, you write everything together in an essay form. Is your question
All right, thank you. Yes, please, it's okay.
answered?
Yes, please, it's answered. Thank you.
Hello.
You said yes.
Okay, all right, cool. Okay. This is where we move from broad to narrow. Okay. You move from broad in the sense that you have to let us know the broad problem that you are trying to evaluate, the broad problem that you are trying to examine. Okay. For example, you talk about the context first, such as the importance of patient-centered care in radiography. Okay. The importance of patient-centered care in radiography. Now, as we are talking about the importance of patient-centered care in radiography, you have to define what that is, because not everyone knows what patient-centered care means. Okay, so you have to define what your concept is sometimes, and then you talk about its importance, that you're giving background information. Then you move down to what has been done, what is known. So if you are doing a study in Nigeria, has it been done in Nigeria? If it has not been done in Nigeria, then you use relevant information from other parts of the world. with supporting literature. Okay, so you talk about what is known, and then you come down to your setting where the concept is really not known. So you talk about patient-centered care and how it is lacking in maybe Nigeria or Ghana or any other parts of the world. Okay, now you have to also support that with literature, and then you have to bring in the justification. How is that affecting patient care? Okay, how is the lack of patient-centered care affecting radiographic procedures or radiographic outcome? You get what I mean? So that is your justification. And then you talk about why you are doing the study. Therefore, this is your study is going to maybe evaluate, ascertain, propose, whatever your aim is. You indicate that. Okay, so that becomes your aim. And your aim is basically for a manuscript, just like the objective, it's only few times that you have to include the research question. Okay, but the research question is just changing your aim or your objectives into a question form. So yeah, okay. Now, most introduction must answer the question, why was this study needed? Why was it important that you do this study and not do a different study? Okay, so it has to answer that question. Do I have question on the structure of the introduction? Okay, if there is no question, I will move on to the next section, which is
Hello.
hello.
Leo, please, I have a question on
Okay,
introduction. Um,
okay.
you said the introduction is moving from a broader problem, then you narrow it down. So
Mm-hmm,
let's say you are doing something that is new in this, let's say in your setting,
mm-hmm,
and you don't actually find a lot of work that has been done globally, or
mm-hmm,
yeah, let's say widely or globally. So
mm-hmm.
in that case, can you just write your introduction based on what you think, or I don't
Yes,
know if you get
if
me.
yeah, I get you. If you are not getting any relevant information that can be transferred from different disciplines. For example, you are doing the study in radiography. Has this been done in nursing? Has this been done in any other allied health field? Has it been done in medicine? If there is nothing like that, then it is as allowed that you bring in your own ideas. Okay, but you have to tone down on your choice of words. When I say tone down your choice of words, you don't make so much heavy, strong claims as if the things exist. Okay, because this is just an assertion you are making in the introduction because there is no relevant literature. So you have to really tone down on your claims. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
no worries. Any other question on that? Okay, right. Now let's see. Let's see. This is an introduction of a manuscript I reviewed yesterday. Okay, the work is talking about burnout in radiation therapy and how we can use gamification to improve therapists' well-being, their engagement, how happy they become at work. All right. So I'll leave the screen for you to just read and let me know your thoughts on this introduction. I'll just give about 2 minutes for us to read and then I'll come back to it.
Sir, please, can you make it more clearer because I can't see it very clear. The screen. Hello, sir, can you hear me?
You can zoom out from your hand.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're not going to sit there, No, I don't want you sitting out there, mate. It's funny, it's flashing up in my place. What? On, off. Off, no, don't turn it off. No? What do you mean you be? Well, what are you going to use for light? Yeah, I'll do that, do that. Do that, because you're going to play that light. It's on and off, on and off. What's your name? Greg. Yeah. Have a good night. All right. See you tomorrow.
Stanley, are you still with us?
Oh, this my network is just too bad today. Oh my goodness. It's really poor. Ha. Hello.
Hi.
Ah,
Sir, we can hear you.
finally. Okay, finally I came back. All right. So please tell me about your thoughts on that. Is there anyone to tell us? Is there anyone to tell us something?
Yes.
Okay, please
Um,
tell us something.
I didn't finish up, but I could get that the broad concept in that topic is about
Okay,
burnout.
I'll say again.
Uh, uh, yeah, it's about burnout, and we are
Mm-hmm.
talking about burnout among medical and radiotherapists. So the alignment of the work starts from the broad term, and then it moved closely to come down, telling us about what is known already about
Mm-hmm.
burnout, which was the second paragraph. So
Mm-hmm.
when that particular aspect, after that, it came down to tell us about as it relates to medical radiotherapists, which is the gap that that particular study is trying to fill. Meaning that burnout, a lot of publication must have been written about burnout in other profession, but for this particular one, the focus is actually on the medical radiotherapist. So I think I stop
Mm-hmm.
at that particular point. I was
Okay.
unable to zoom
Okay.
to
Thank
say.
you very much for your contribution. Any other person to help us or say something? Any other contribution? Otherwise, I'll move on and discuss what I think was good and what I think could have been improved from a peer reviewer perspective. Okay. Can you guys hear me? Before I'll finish and then I'll realize I'm talking to myself. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes,
Okay,
please,
all
we
right.
can
Now,
hear you.
let's see this background, the introduction. All right, so they talked about burnout. They gave the background statement of it, and then they jumped to talking about how we can reduce burnout. And then they went on to tell us who a radiation therapist is. Okay, now this paper was submitted to a journal in our field in radiography. And so it's expected that anyone who reads that should be able to know who a radiation therapist is. And so that particular statement is redundant. All right. We don't need that in the background or in the introduction. Now, after they have given a background statement and then talked about mitigating strategies and unnecessarily defined who a radiation therapist is, they came back again to give further background statement. They said, like other healthcare professionals, MRTs experience high levels of burnout. Okay, that is a general statement. It is a background statement. And then they talked about the effect of burnout. Okay, before they came back to talk about another mitigating strategy. So this background is really, really disjointed. Okay, as a peer reviewer, I would ask them that number one, they should remove that redundant information. They should move the background statement in paragraph 2 to paragraph 1. And then the effect statement should be added to the background statement. So that becomes paragraph 1. And that will lead to mitigating strategies. Now we know the background information, we know how it affects radiation therapies. Now, how can we reduce it? So that comes to the mitigating strategies combined in paragraph 2. Before we introduce the gamification aspect, okay, because now we are introducing a novel approach, which is gamification, to reduce the level of burnout. So that is a mitigating strategy, but it is novel, it is unknown. So we have to introduce that on a different paragraph or in a different paragraph with supporting references. Okay, so that is what I observed about this introduction from the point of view of a reviewer. Okay, so I gave them my opinion, how they can improve on that paper. And then again, if I should go back to the second part of it, the image on the right actually talked about the objectives of the particular program, which they called the scavenger hunt. But it doesn't appear to be the objectives of the study. It doesn't appear to be, there's no reason why they are doing that study. That was not clearly stated, even though you can imply that we want this program to improve well-being, but that was not clearly stated. And so as a reviewer, I would want to see a clearly written objectives of the research, not of the program. These objectives that were stated were just objectives of the program that was implemented. So why are you now doing the study? Why are you writing the manuscript? Let us know that objective. Okay, because the objectives will help you to select your research methodology. Okay, so that's some basic thing I found. Anyone with additional information? If you disagree with anything, please let us know so that we can all learn. All right. I know that some bosses, some research gurus are here. They can teach us well. Please let me know if there is something we could have improved on this introduction. Okay, so I'll move on. Since my internet is not stable today, now let's talk about the objective. So with an objective, you want to be very clear and very specific, and then that objective should be measurable. Okay, and you should be able to achieve it. You don't have to be over ambitious in your objective. You have to be as simple as possible. Go straight to the point. Let us know what you actually want to do. Okay, because if you're as clear, simple, measurable, and then timely is that your objective or your study should be more relevant to current situations. Okay, now in 2020, there was COVID. And so in 2020, it was really, really important that we study COVID. Now, COVID is no longer in existence. And so if you really want to do something on COVID, then you have to let us really know why you are doing the COVID at this point. Is there any particular reason? Are you trying to maybe study post-COVID effects on radiography education? Then that can be so. Maybe you've realized that after the COVID, students often feel so tired when they are on placement. Maybe because there is a limited number of support they receive from radiographers. Let us know why you want to study the effect of COVID at this time. Okay. And common verbs that we use in the objective to assess, evaluate, explore, analyze. There are so many objectives out there which you can use. Okay. And now the methods, which is one of the key sections to actually convey what you are doing. Okay, the method is the blueprint of everything that you are doing. If you get your methods wrong, your paper is not going to be accepted. You really have to justify why you are choosing certain methods and why you are selecting certain group of people and not a different group of people. All right. Why do you want to study it quantitatively and not qualitatively? Okay. Now, the methods also include the study design. We've talked about that. It includes the settings and then the participants, the sampling strategy that you are using. Okay. The sampling strategy, you have to justify why you are using, if it is a purposive sampling, why you are using a purposive sampling. If it's convenience, why are you using convenience? If it is sensor sampling, whatever that you do in the methods, you have to justify. Okay, that is the point where you do most of your justifications. Okay, and then the data collection and analysis. Okay, so this data collection and analysis will also be more useful because there should be a correlation between your chosen method and then your data analysis and the data collection. So if you are doing a quantitative study, as I said early on, you cannot come and do interviews for your quantitative study. And once you've done interview, you cannot analyze it by descriptive statistics. So it should follow from one another. Okay, that is that. And with the ethics, because you are dealing with humans, you need to get consent, and you also need to get ethics approval from an institutional board, unless it's a review paper you are preparing. If you are doing a literature review, you don't need ethics approval. But if you are writing a primary study that involves humans or animals, then you need an ethics approval. And then you have to follow certain ethics codes and conducts. Okay. All right. Any questions so far? Oh, there is a Mentimeter activity here. When I share with the organizer will share with you, get to know what questions there is. I don't know why today my Mentimeter, it says it will not work, so I don't want to stress it. Let me see, maybe if I put it in presenter mode, it will come. It's still not working. Okay. All right. Now, how do we present the results? If we want to present results, you got to let the data speak for itself. You don't have to speak for the data. This is not a time for you to interpret anything. This is where you just present what you found, okay? As I explained early on, you have to explain clearly what you had. You had to let us know which demographics that you found, the gender differences, okay? You have to present the key findings, and sometimes you can use tables, you can use figures, and that makes your work more interesting and more exciting to read. But you don't have to overuse tables and figures. Okay, you have to know which aspect of your results you can present them by tables, which ones you can present by figures. All right, and once you've done this, you have to be as efficient as possible, because in most of our journals, they have very, very limited word counts. All right. So especially if you are doing qualitative, where you have to really, really make your result section detailed, you may be short on word count. So you have to be as efficient as possible and then very, very straight to the point, because radiography, for instance, accept 4,000 word limit for qualitative and 3,000 word limit for quantitative. So our journals really have very low word counts. Okay, so you have to bear in mind with that. And now, when we come to the discussion, all right, in the discussion, you are going to do a 4-part activity. When I say a 4-part activity, you have to tell us your major findings. You have to compare your major findings with literature. What have other people found? Is there any differences? Are they the same? Then what does that mean? If there are differences, why are they different? If they are the same, why are they the same? What does that actually mean? And because we are health inclined, your interpretation should include implications for practice. Okay. You are making implication. Okay. This is what I found. This is what other people have said. This is what it actually means. And this is how it is going to support or how it's going to influence practice. That is implications. All right. But you have to be very, very, very careful that in your interpretations, you'll be measured in the extent to which you make some bold claims. Okay. Because the study definitely have limitations. If you use quantitative, perhaps that is just more for the setting that you are doing the study. If you use qualitative, maybe you just interviewed 8 people, that is not high enough for you to make such bold declarations or claims. So you really have to be measured in how you interpret your findings. You have to know that there could be better ways of doing it. There could be other ways that could have improved the results. Okay. And once everything is done, once you have your discussion, you would have to write the conclusion part of it. Now, the conclusion is a summary of your results and your discussion. Okay. The conclusion is a summary of your results and the discussion, and it should be maximum should be 2 paragraphs, but mostly 1 paragraph is enough because that is just conclusion. Okay. You're just summarizing everything in there. If you use ChatGPT, it's going to give you about 4 or 5 paragraphs. And once we read it, we know that, oh, this is ChatGPT because we all use ChatGPT, we all use other AIs. And so we know when an AI is talking and we know when a human being is talking. You understand? Yeah. There should be good ways of using AIs. I like using AI, right? Because it makes you work faster. It makes you be able to brainstorm some ideas better, but you don't have to use AI in drafting your manuscripts. Okay. It makes you lose your human touch. It makes you lose your creativity, but it should be there to help you. And I like using AI. This is not a section where we teach how to use AI. Maybe another time we can look at how we can use AI to help us generate ideas, how we can use AI to help us improve our writing skills. Okay, because that is what we are in now. Everyone is using. If you don't use it, someone will use it and the person will be better than you. But you have to know how to use it well. So how do we now navigate the writing journey? The best thing is that if you want to write well, you have to read more. Okay. If you really want to write well, you have to read more. For me, as a radiographer and as a researcher, I don't only read from radiography because I know that our field, our research culture is very low. We are now trying to be good at research. So I go to fields like nursing. I go to fields like medicine. I go to fields like education. And then I try to bring in those concepts to my field and how I can improve my profession. So I read a lot, I read wide, and it makes it easy for me to write. It makes it easier for me to write than to let ChatGPT write for me. Because anytime I have tried to use ChatGPT to write, it actually delays me. But once I sit down to read and write, That is the easy way. Maybe today we are not learning about how to read and write. And so I will not go into details. Otherwise, I would have showed you what I actually do and how I do them. So if it happens that we have another section on how to use AI or how to write properly, then we can go into details. So the advice is that read wide, read more, and read more things in your discipline. Okay. So you get a fair idea of the things that we do in radiography. You get more idea of how research is structured in radiography. Okay. Because if you have a very poor structure and then your manuscript lacks clarity, then we are going to reject it. Okay. So you have to ensure that you read wide so that you can get some strong research questions. Okay. And you know when to not overinterpret your findings. Okay. Now, once you read more, you also get to know the journal's guidelines, and so you can follow them. Okay. And the best thing is that you have to collaborate with people. You have to collaborate with your seniors. You have to collaborate with your lecturers. You have to collaborate with people outside because now the world is a global village. You can be in Ghana and collaborate with someone in UK. You can be in Nigeria, collaborate with someone in UAE. It shouldn't take anything from you. You can prepare your manuscripts, send it to someone to look before you even submit. Okay, that is one way of building collaboration. Because at your level, if you are now beginning to write papers, you would have to do most of the things. Once you are out there, people will do most of the things for you. Okay, but if you are starting, you have to do most of the things so that people can get to know you. So you have to collaborate and you have to ask for mentorship. I have so many mentors. I have mentors in the UK. I have mentors in Ghana. I have mentors in Australia. So mentorship should be part of you. Once you have good mentors, but it's not anyone who can be your mentor. I may not be a good fit to be your mentor. Maybe someone in the same field or discipline or area or school or class, even your junior, may be a good mentor. All right? Because in navigating the research space, you have to know where you fit. Okay, perhaps I'm in love with qualitative studies. Maybe yours is more of IT, imaging equipment, all right? Maybe more of quantitative, maybe more of computational. I cannot be a good mentor to you. Okay, so you have to find who in the field does research that aligns with your own interest. Okay, and then once you read more and you write more, you become better. Okay, because consistency is what builds us. All right. And where else? Okay. Now, once you submit, as we said, you have prepared your manuscript, you think it is so good, you've read over it over and over 5 times, 6 times. You've got people to peer review before you even submit to the journal. But still, when you submit to the journal, it may be rejected for many reasons. Sometimes you will not even understand why this paper was rejected, but it has been rejected. It is part of it. It's part of the process. I wrote one paper with some of my friends in Ghana, and then we sent it to radiography. First report came, it said major correction. We did, we submitted. And then the second one came, minor correction. We did, we submitted. And the third one was rejection. So we moved from major to minor to rejection. But usually from minor correction, you know that your paper is going to be accepted. But here, we go to minor, and then the paper was rejected. It's part of it. Now, you can be as angry as you want to be, that it has been rejected and there's nothing you can do. You just have to go back, sit down, come back to the paper, and then you realize that, oh, it actually makes sense. If I do this, it will improve my work. Okay, so rejection is part of it. If not that my internet is not too good this evening, I would have shown you my portal. You see the number of rejections that we receive. And maybe you only get to know the victories that we celebrate, but the defeats that we don't celebrate, you don't get to know because we all get rejections. My mentor is a very strong researcher, and then the last paper we wrote, we sent it to about 4 journals, and they all rejected the paper. Okay, that was work that has about 4 professors on it, and we've sent it to many radiography journals where some of us are editors, some are editorial board members, some are peer reviewers, and still the paper gets rejected. Yeah, so that is to tell you that rejection is part of it. It builds us up. Okay, rejection is what is going to make you better. It helps you to think critically and know how you can improve your submissions. All right. Okay, now before we go, this will be an activity for us to do. I would have done it in Mentimeter, but my internet and all those IT stuff not working today. So just take a moment, draft a research title, write one specific objective, define one key method, and then state one expected result. Okay, in your free time. And then the key take home things for us is that writing is a learned skill. No one was born to be a writer. See, when I was young, I love reading. Yeah, I love reading. I so much find joy in reading. And then I went to secondary school and I went to do science. And so even though science you have to learn hard, but it wasn't reading I was doing, I was learning. And so I became interested and so much enthused with learning. And I like it when I'm learning and it is chemistry or it is physics or it is mathematics. And I never loved biology because it is full of reading. You see, so I didn't like it. But here I am now a researcher and I have to read. So the writing is also a skill that you learn. Okay, you start writing small. There are different forms of research that you can actually do apart from quantitative and qualitative. There is something you don't need, ethics approval, which is the literature review. And that should be easy to do, except that you need to be very well versed in the reading because that is more of interpretation of other people's work. So you really have to understand what you are writing about. You get what I mean? Good. So this writing thing is a skill that we develop and it is not innate. It's not in anyone. Okay. You also have to follow the established structure. Don't deviate. Once you are following structure, you are good to go. Okay. And then know that, as we said, rejection is part of it. And so you have to be persistent so that you become better. All right. Now, research is incomplete until it is shared. Once you have done your research, even if the journal publishes it, you have to share it. You have to go to conference, you have to share it on LinkedIn, you have to share it on your status, you have to share it on Facebook, you have to share it on Instagram, you have to share it on any other social media. Okay. That is the real impact of research. The impact is not just about the publication, it's about how people get to know it and use it. That is impact. So research is incomplete until you have shared it to whoever needs to know about it. Now, the next slides are just Mentimeter activities. Okay, so this one will be like, how confident do you feel about writing a research paper after this session? And then the next one is like, how can you be better supported? Maybe there's something I didn't do well. How can I improve on my delivery to be able to support you well in your writing? And then the last one also talks about what you think you'll be doing in the next 7 days. That's the last mentee. So when I share the slides with eBay, you should be able to get that. Good. That is the end of our not so good discussion because of the internet. Any question for me?
Well, good evening, everyone. I think you have been so kind to say that your section was not so good. I mean, this is probably one of the best sections we've had in
Oh,
the
no,
entire
I
PDMP
plan.
program so far.
This is not how I plan to do
Yeah,
it.
I think someone,
So poor.
yeah, I think it is. So I think our account has his hand raised up. You can reach and ask your question.
Okay, I'm here. Ask your question. I'm here to
Okay, good
respond to your
afternoon.
questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Leo, for the presentation. It was indeed
No
well
worries.
simplified and then it built on what we know. So you said for us to start, probably the beginners, and the best approach for us is to start a qualitative research. That okay, are we going to say taking a peer review, like reading papers and writing on it? Could you just
Is
give
that
us a kind of ladder? We know that there is grading in the research, like levels of research. So could you just give us
mhm.
the levels, like okay, start from here, then move to this and move to that. And because of collaboration, and you are just starting, is it better that you say, oh, until I get someone to collaborate with before I write, or you can still start in your own little way and start writing before getting probably persistent, and then you are building the skill, then you feel that you can go higher, that you need collaborators?
Okay? All right. Thank you very much for your question. Point of correction. I didn't say that you should start with qualitative. I didn't say that you should start with quantitative or qualitative, because that depends on your own strength. Whether you are starting with qualitative, quantitative, or a literature review, that all depends on your own strength and also the research question you are trying to address. Okay? What I know and what I believe is that sometimes it is difficult to get the data from the participants. So let's say if you are looking at radiographers, if you are looking at a patient or student, sometimes it can be difficult to get the data. All right. And so it is also difficult to get the ethics approval. But you don't need all these things in literature reviews, where you just go on the journal and select some papers and write about it, write a discussion, interpret, and make meaning out of it. That's literature review. But there are levels to the literature review. We have the basic one that when we are writing our thesis, undergraduate thesis, the one that we write, that is narrative literature review. That does not follow any structure. And so you can write it anyhow you want it. But if you climb the ladder and go to a systematic review, you need to be systematic by its name. You need to follow certain procedures, certain requirements. Okay. So that can be quite challenging unless you have real guide. All right. And when it comes to mentorship, you see, mentorship it shouldn't be mentored by a professor just because their name is a professor. It should be a mentor who is ready to mentor you, who has the time, who is ready to teach you, because you're now starting to know how to write. You're now starting to know how to find your feet in the research space. Okay. So if I use myself as an example, In Ghana, when I was in Ghana, I was a research assistant. But guess what? None of my lecturers actually saw that, oh, this guy is good, or this is his strength. It was one of my professors in the graduate school when I was doing my master's. That was like, no, I see you as different. And he occasionally sent me papers to read and then explain to him what I understand by those papers. All right. In all that, what actually, even when I came to Australia, I was publishing and I was doing everything. But what actually brought me to the limelight in Australia was a collaborative paper I made. Okay, so I was looking at sustainability in radiography, and then after I wrote the paper, that is not part of my PhD. So I was at liberty to select whoever I want to collaborate with. So I selected some professors in UK. I selected some professors in Australia. And I told myself, I want to do that. This is the paper I have written. And I am collaborating with professors in Australia. Are they ready? Are they willing to be part of the team? And they said, okay, yes, we are more than happy to be part. And then I went to the Australian professors and I told them, this is the paper I am writing. What I need you to do is just to review so we can submit to a journal. Because those people are editors, associate editors in radiography. Okay. So I told them also that the professors in UK have agreed to be part. Are they also willing to be part of it? And they were like, yeah, they are happy to be part of it. So now all the professors came on board. I sent them my paper for them to review some of the statements I made in my paper. Some of them also agreed. Others brought in different ideas. I had to revise again. We submitted, it was published. Now, after that, the professors in UK will occasionally invite me to join their paper because now I've established that rapport with them. They've known that, okay, this guy can write well. Let us get him on board. So they will get a paper and like, hey, Jacob, we are writing this paper. I want you to be part of it. I want you to take charge. I said, okay, yeah, I have time. Let's do it. The Australians will also come. We are doing this paper. We want you to. So just one paper, just one collaboration got me doing so many papers. But you always have to find the right person. Okay. If you don't find the right person, that's going to be very challenging, especially that no one really knows you now. Okay. Especially no one knows you now. You really have to just collaborate with people who can help you to develop your skill well. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to add something. Can I?
Yes, I am here.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So Mrs. Stark, I don't know whether I pronounced the name correctly. I don't know how you joined the meeting, right? But if I've been at the group, the research and publication track, this is like the second phase. So the third phase, which is the try and apply, which we are still going to show at the end of those webinar, at the end of this session, is when we actually build. So one of the things we're trying to do is not just to have people gather together and we bring professional mentors and the knowledge is being poured. So we don't just want the knowledge to end at just being informed. We want to actually try and do something, right? So the third phase of this program for this track will actually be um, writing papers and publishing. So you're actually going to, I don't know whether you're in the group. If you're not in the group, you can actually reach out to us on any of our social platforms, LinkedIn precisely, and we add you to the WhatsApp group. So we are building collaboration between we are building collaboration with people with sorry, I'm at work. We are building collaboration with people in the group. So people will be paired and research topics will be given and yeah, more of that will be said at the end of this section. But just know that we're also working on collaboration, so which is the third phase of this track.
All right.
Mm.
I think
Thank
you guys
you.
are doing well. Yeah.
Okay,
It's
Leonard, I thank you for your presentation. I just have a question to ask. I want to find out in a systematic literature review, can one systematically review review some topics and that would be good enough for publication?
more than enough for publication. Yeah. Systematic literature review is actually the highest form of research. Yeah. That supersedes
Okay, all right. Thank you.
the traditional research that we do. Yeah. Clarify anything. Otherwise, I will allow you to go have your evenings to yourself.
Do we still have any other question?
Okay. Thank you so much, eBay, for inviting me. It was a privilege to share with you what the little things I know. I hope it was helpful. Yeah. And
Yeah, it
so,
was more than helpful. Yeah, Mr. Jacob, sorry, Mr. Leo, before you go, you made mention of if we could have another section on how to use AI for research. I don't know if you'll be, I mean, we'll see if we can try and fix one more section that will be like briefly on that in June. I don't know if you would be available for it.
is it ending of June?
Oh, you'll be available ending of June.
Oh, yeah. That shouldn't be a problem. Like 2
Ending of
hours
June.
lecture is it's okay.
Okay, ending of June.
Yeah, that should be fine if it's fine with your team.
Okay. No problem.
No,
I will
ending
reach
of
out to
June.
them.
No, wait. Ending of June, I'm going to New Zealand. No, ending
Okay,
of June, I'm maybe early part of July should be fine. Ending of June, I'll be in New Zealand. So if it's ending of June, let's
no
say
problem. I will
well,
reach out.
30th should be fine. 30th of June should be fine. I'll be in New Zealand, but it should still be fine. Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I just want to share my screen and show them the next steps. Um,
Okay, Irene is asking, can we share the screen, the slides? I don't know how I will share the slides with you, but I will share with the convener. I'll share with eBay. So likely eBay will share with the team.
yes. Yeah. I will share with the same.
Yeah.
So guys, I want to share something. So okay. So hello. Mr. Leo, thank you very much for a wonderful section. And I mean, this is
Okay.
actually one of the best sections we've had in the entire program. I'm not even minding words. And despite your busy schedules, despite the time zones, you still were able to make it. We don't take it for granted. And we really, really appreciate this section. And it's actually going to be a springboard to our next phase, which is the try and application phase, which is the phase 3. And so we're still going to have one more section early June. So the section will be bordered basically on how to reference, right? How to use softwares like Mendeley and how to do manual referencing, whichever style you want, and how to also leverage AI platforms like Answer OI and other platforms like SciHub to find journals and the rest of it. So that's going to be early June. That will be communicated. So after it, we would move to the trial and application phase. So like we said, like the first speaker that we had earlier, well, I think his last month, was telling us that problems is what actually bets research. And we've also urged us to try to identify problems and challenges, whether in knowledge, in practice, in education, in policy, or in technology. So around wherever you work, you should start paying attention to the things. Oh, what is going on? What is wrong? What can be fixed? What can we do better? Because at the trial application, we want to actually be able to not just write a research paper for publication, but to be able to actually write something that would actually improve practice in our various countries, something that will actually improve practice in our various countries, right? Or in wherever we find ourselves. So we are urging you, that's the participants in this call, to start looking out for problems. I think we're going to use the templates that Mr. Jacob dropped in the last part of his slides, whereby you identify a research topic, you state one objective, and I think we're going to use that template. More communication on that will be done in the group. Yeah, I think that's the announcement. Yeah, and once again, Mr. Leo, sorry, I know you, Jacob. This is kind of hard for you. So once again, Mr. Leo, thank you very much for this section. Like I said before, we don't take it for granted, and can you still hear me? Sorry.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, okay. So I'm just saying, thank you very much, and
No worries, no
for
worries.
the yeah. For the people that were able to join the call, despite this change in schedule, we say thank you too for joining, and we say that you do enjoy the rest of your day. This is the end of today's section.
All right.
Yeah.